All right, Niners faithful, let's talk about what's really going on with San Francisco right now, because there's a lot to unpack. The injury situation, the quarterback shuffle, some key updates on the defensive front, and a few trade whispers that could completely reshape this team down the stretch. So grab a seat, because this one's loaded with news and insight about our 49ers. Let's start with the injury front, because that's where the story begins this week. Brock Purdy's dealing with a turf toe injury that's been hanging around longer than anyone hoped. He first tweaked it early in the season and then aggravated it again in Week 4 against Jacksonville. Since then, we haven't seen him on the field. The team had the option to place him on injured reserve, which would have freed up a roster spot, but they decided not to go that route. Maybe they believed he'd come back sooner. Maybe it was optimism, but now that decision looks a little questionable because he's still not ready to play. Then there's wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, who can't seem to catch a break either. He entered the Jacksonville game already nursing a sore knee, and during that same matchup, he made it worse. It's now confirmed to be a PCL injury, which is tricky because it affects the knee's stability. He's been making progress, but not fast enough to see the field this Sunday. Both Purdy and Pearsall are expected to miss the game against the Giants, and honestly, that's probably the right call. Turf toe and PCL problems can linger if you rush back too soon. And with both of them being key pieces for this team, the Niners can't afford another setback. When you look at Purdy's year so far, it's been kind of mixed bag. He's only played 2 games, completing a little under 66% of his passes for just under 600 yards, with 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That ratio tells the story. Moments of brilliance mixed with costly mistakes. The turnovers are the issue that really stand out, something that carried over from last season. But even with the inconsistencies, everyone inside the building still believes in his upside. When he's on, he's one of those quarterbacks who can elevate the entire offense and look like a top 10 player in the league. It's just a matter of staying healthy and getting back in rhythm. As for Ricky Pearsall, the talent has never been the problem. The guy's explosive, sharp in his routes, and capable of beating both man and zone coverage. In the limited action he's had this season, he's caught 20 passes for over 300 yards, averaging more than 16 yards per catch. That's elite production when he's on the field. The real battle for him is keeping his body right. In college at Arizona State and Florida, he was durable, never missed much time. But in the NFL, it's been one thing after another, a hamstring, a shoulder, then the gunshot incident, which obviously isn't his fault, and now the knee. If he can just stay on the field, San Francisco knows they have a real difference maker in that receiver room. John Lynch spoke on the radio about both players earlier this week. He said Purdy's making progress, ramping up his workload, and that the team will make a final call based on how he feels closer to game time. But even with that optimism, Kyle Shanahan already admitted it's a complicated injury, more serious than most people realize. And that makes sense. Turf toe is one of those things that can re-aggravate at any moment, especially for a quarterback who needs to plant and throw with precision. It's not something you mess around with. And with the Niners playing on that brutal MetLife Stadium turf this weekend, it's smart to sit him. No need to risk making things worse when there's a game next week on the soft Levi's grass against the Rams. So with Purdy out, that means Jones is in line for his 7th start of the season. And let's be real, if someone told you before the year that Jones would be starting 7 games by the end of October, you'd probably assume the Niners season was in the tank again. But here's the crazy part, it's not. Despite everything, the team is still right in the thick of the NFC race. That's largely because Jones has been way better than anyone expected. He's completing about 66% of his throws, has nearly 1,600 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, and not all those picks are on him. He's dealt with shaky pass protection, some dropped passes, and a banged-up receiving core. Before last week's game, he was actually leading the entire league in passing yards per game. That tells you something about the resilience and adaptability he's shown. Now, let's shift to the defensive side of things, where the front office just made a move that could turn out to be a sneaky good one. San Francisco traded for Keon White from the Patriots, a big, athletic defensive lineman who just didn't fit the system in New England. The Niners' analytics department liked him, the coaches liked him, and John Lynch pulled the trigger. White's the kind of player who fits the Niners mold. Big, explosive, versatile, and still with untapped potential. He can play both defensive end and tackle, and his athleticism jumps off the screen. We're talking about a guy over 280 pounds who ran the 40-yard dash in under 4.8 seconds. Last year with New England, he posted 5 sacks, 45 pressures, and a strong pass rush grade. Those numbers show he can win at the line of scrimmage. What the Niners plan to do now is mix him around, use him at multiple spots, and take advantage of mismatches. Exactly the kind of creativity Chris Kukurek, one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL, loves. This move might not be as flashy as trading for someone like Trey Hendrickson, but it's smart roster building. And who knows, White might end up being one of those under-the-radar acquisitions that pays off big once he gets into this system. Speaking of Hendrickson, that's the big name swirling around the rumor mill right now. The Bengals have been turning down trade offers so far, saying they plan to keep him, but San Francisco and Dallas have both shown strong interest. Hendrickson is a proven edge rusher, 4 sacks and 23 pressures already this year, and would instantly give the Niners' defensive front the kind of punch it's been missing since injuries hit. Imagine pairing him with Nick Bosa on the edges. That's the kind of move that changes the complexion of her defense overnight. NFL.com even listed the Niners as the best possible fit for Hendrickson, citing the team's lack of consistent pressure and the injuries that have decimated the pass rush. San Francisco ranks near the bottom of the league in sacks right now, and adding someone of Hendrickson's caliber could fix that fast. Plus, his contract situation wouldn't blow up their salary cap or mortgage future draft picks. It's a swing worth taking, especially for a team that's still within striking distance in the NFC West. That's where things stand heading into this matchup with the Giants. It's another early kickoff on the East Coast, and while it's tempting to want to see the full lineup back on the field, the smart play is patience. Let Purdy and Pearsall heal up. Let the defense continue to gel with some new faces and get ready for that massive divisional showdown next week against the Rams. Because once those guys are healthy again, and if a move like the Hendrickson trade actually happens, the Niners could go from hanging around in the playoff picture to being right back in the conversation for NFC supremacy. Now let's talk about how this team is holding it all together despite everything that's been thrown at them. Injuries, roster changes, early season struggles, it's been a lot. But that's what defines the San Francisco 49ers. This team never folds. They find ways to adapt, even when the odds look stacked against them. You look at how they've been able to stay competitive in the NFC despite missing key players and dealing with one of the most inconsistent offensive lines in football, and it says a lot about the culture Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have built. For all the talk about Purdy and Pearsall being out, the real backbone of this team right now has been its depth. Jones has stepped up in a way few expected. He's not a flashy quarterback, but he's smart, tough, and knows how to run Shanahan's system. The poise he's shown in the pocket, especially behind a line that struggled to protect him, is impressive. Even in games where the offense hasn't been perfect, he's kept the team in it with his decision-making and calm under pressure. Before last week, he led all quarterbacks in passing yards per game. Not bad for someone who wasn't even expected to start half the season. And then there's the rest of the supporting cast. Christian McCaffrey continues to be the engine of this offense. Even when defenses load up the box, he finds ways to make plays, whether it's running between the tackles or catching passes out of the backfield. Brandon Ayuk has been reliable, creating separation and giving Jones a dependable target on third downs. And George Kittle, even though his numbers haven't been massive this year, has done everything the team's asked, from blocking in the run game to chipping defensive ends, so Jones has time to throw. It's not always about the stats. It's about impact, and Kittle's still one of the best all-around tight ends in the league. Defensively, it's been a mixed story. When healthy, the Niners' front seven is among the most dominant units in football. But with so many pieces missing, it's been up to some lesser-known players to step up. And honestly, a few of them have. You look at guys like Javon Kinlaw and Drake Jackson. They've shown flashes. They're still learning how to play consistently at a high level, but the effort's been there. Adding Keon White to that mix should help, especially if he gets comfortable quickly in this system. He brings size, versatility, and power. The kind of athlete that fits perfectly in a rotation with Bosa, Armstead, and Hargrave once everyone's back and healthy. The secondary, meanwhile, has quietly been one of the most improved parts of this team. Diamador Lenore and Charvarius Ward have been solid on the outside, limiting big plays and tackling well. The safeties have done their job too, even though they've been asked to play a lot more run support lately because of the issues up front. It hasn't been perfect, but they're keeping things in check enough to give the offense a chance each week. And that's the formula right now: survive, compete, and stay in the playoff mix until everyone's back. One of the biggest storylines to watch moving forward is how Shanahan manages these next few games. The Giants' matchup this week is tricky, not because New York's a powerhouse, but because it's one of those games where the Niners can't afford to get complacent. Then comes the Rams, a divisional showdown that could shape the rest of the season. That's the game where San Francisco expects to be closer to full strength, with Purdy and Pearsall possibly returning. If they can steal a win this weekend without them and get both back next week, the momentum shift could be massive. But the key thing here is discipline. The Niners can't rush players back just to chase an early season win. Turf toe and PCL injuries are the kind that can turn into season-long problems if not handled carefully. You'd rather have both guys healthy and ready for the stretch run than push them into a game on that rough MetLife surface. Everyone in the building knows it. Shanahan and Lynch have both emphasized the long game, and with how tight the NFC West is shaping up to be, every little decision could be the difference between a playoff spot and sitting at home in January. Now, circling back to the trade talks, the front office is still active. Even though the acquisition of Keon White was solid, the expectation is that they're not done yet. The deadline's coming, and the 49ers are exploring more pass rushing help. Trey Hendrickson remains a name that keeps coming up, but there are a few other options on their radar. Players like Jermaine Johnson, Jalen Phillips, or even Bradley Chubb if Miami becomes open to a move. These aren't just dream scenarios either. The Niners have been aggressive before around this time of year, and with their current defensive depth being thin, it wouldn't be surprising to see Lynch make another move. And speaking of moves paying off, we got to talk about Eddie Piñeiro. What a season he's having. He's been perfect this month, 10 for 10 on field goals, and was named the NFC Special Teams Player of the Month. He's quietly become one of the most dependable kickers in football, now ranking as the second most accurate kicker in NFL history. That kind of consistency is huge, especially for a team that's been in so many close games lately. You never think about your kicker until you need him, and Piñeiro's been money when it counts. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The rumor mill is swirling in the Bay Area as whispers suggest the San Francisco 49ers may have just pulled off a game-changing move. Sources close to the organization hint that PENEI Sewell, the dynamic offensive tackle, could be donning the red and gold very soon, and insiders claim his arrival might completely transform the 49ers' offensive line. Fans and analysts alike are buzzing with speculation. Sewell, widely regarded as one of the most physically gifted linemen in recent memory, has long been a coveted figure in the league. If the rumors are true, his presence could give quarterback Trey Lance and the entire offensive unit a level of protection and flexibility that has been missing in previous seasons. Some insiders even suggest that the front office sees Sewell as the missing piece in a lineup that has flirted with greatness but hasn't quite broken through. While nothing has been officially confirmed, social media is already ablaze with theories. Could this be the start of a full-on offensive line revolution in San Francisco? Observers note that Sewell's unique combination of agility, power, and intelligence makes him capable of neutralizing the league's most dangerous edge rushers. That alone could alter the way opposing defenses approach the 49ers, opening up running lanes for Christian McCaffrey and providing Lance the time needed to showcase his deep ball potential. Veteran insiders are careful to stress the speculative nature of these reports, but the sheer volume of chatter is hard to ignore. Rumors suggest that Sewell has been in close contact with 49ers staff, and there's talk of an intense negotiation period that may have already concluded behind closed doors. The buzz isn't just about talent. It's about the potential ripple effect. Analysts are already forecasting shifts in game planning, with some envisioning a 49ers line that finally lives up to its storied reputation. For now, it's all whispers and what-ifs, but the mere possibility of PENEI SEWELL in San Francisco has fans dreaming. Could this be the spark that propels the 49ers back into Super Bowl contention? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The Bay Area is talking, and the anticipation is electric. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.